Okay, we are live. And if I have to say this one more time, my God, do you have any idea how many questions I got asked today? Mason, are you still going live? Mason, it's 10:15. Are you going live tonight? I am going live every single night until the start of the season. There was supposed to be a tropical storm in Tampa tonight. I'm not going anywhere. We are going live every single night. You do not need to ask me. All you need to do, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell next to the subscribe button, and come hop into these fantasy football drafts with me. So y'all know we are going to get more drafts going tonight like we do every single night. I'm sorry about the rant, but guys, I don't want to be answering those questions every single night. I'm going live. Now, tonight we went a little bit later just because there were so many preseason games. And of course, that is going to change drafts, whether it should or not. I bet you some of these draft picks are going to be a little bit different. So let me pull up the live chat right now. Let's get a Trey Lance party going right now. I will say that. And let me send out a link to the live draft. I'm not going to be sending this out on Patreon. I don't think we necessarily have the time since we're going a little late. So I'm just going to send this first draft out here. It's going to be just a $5 draft. Y'all know the very beginning of every live stream, we just do a $5 warm-up draft. So let's get this one out here. And then once the stream is okay, and we can make sure that we have enough people to fill a $100 league, we'll try to get a $100 league going later tonight. Okay, so we copied that. Let me send this out. And let me know, guys, what stood out to you about the NFL preseason. Whether you're watching this as a video later on, whether you're in the live stream right now, let me know your thoughts. I am very interested to hear what you have to say. Okay, so we sent that out. Y'all see how fast this sucker fills. For everybody that has hit that bell next to the subscribe button, they can come out. They can get in this draft right away. Let's see where we're going to be selecting. And I'll say, I probably should have been working all day, and we get the 104. Okay, but I probably should have been working all day. I probably should have been making videos, making Patreon podcast. I have a confession. While we are supposed to be doing that, I could not help myself. I've just been doing underdog drafts all day. I've just been doing more fantasy football drafts. I'll have on one monitor, we'll have a game going, and on the other one, I'm just going through and I'm drafting. So this is like probably my 5th draft today, even though it's my first one on a live stream. So this is going to be exciting. This is going to be a very exciting stream. We have the 104, so we can make some plays here. And of course, guys, if y'all are new to the stream, you know I have to give the announcement out, guys, that we are currently drafting on Underdog Fantasy. This is my favorite place to play fantasy football in 2021. And what is really weird about Underdog is right now they have like a little glitch in the system. I have no idea when they are going to be able to fix it. But if you use promo code FLOCK when you make your first $10 deposit, for whatever reason, $25 extra get added to your account. And also you get access to my 2021 rankings. You get access to my 2021 tiers and my 2021 draft guide and my 2021 dynasty rookie draft guide. Pages and pages and pages and pages of information that you get when you use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy, hop in some drafts, and there's nothing more fun to do. Okay, so we have Kevin coming out with a donation, says, you see my boy Jordan Love, hashtag go Pack Go, hashtag flock up. You have no idea how many leagues we have Jordan Love in Dynasty Superflex. So, of course, I'm excited to see Jordan Love. Now, all we need to do is get him over to Denver. Let's get him over to Denver, and then we can be really celebrating. But we're going to take Avonte Adams here at the 104. I know a lot of people are going to be just mind blown that we did that and passed up on a Derrick Henry. But I think with Avonte Adams at the 104, he is just going to have a floor that none of these other running backs can hit, because we know every other running back in this range, once you get beyond a Christian McCaffrey and a Dalvin Cook, they have their own respective red flags. Now, some of them are bigger than others. And at the same time, Avonte Adams has access to a ceiling based on what we saw last year, where he put up the best wide receiver season of all time. If you go on a per game basis and remove week 2, whenever he had that ankle injury, literally it wasn't even close. He crushed 2007 Randy Moss. Nobody talked about this whatsoever because Aaron Rodgers had that little saga all offseason. So that overshadowed exactly how good Avonte Adams was last year. But I'm going to consistently draft him. Any pick outside of 1 or 2, Avonte Adams is my guy. Okay, so now let's go through. Luke said, dang, that was so quick. I clicked it the second it was in the chat. Yeah, my man, I am sorry. That's why definitely going to be important to just make sure that you're going out there and you have the notifications on so you can get in these drafts. And at the same time, like I said, we're going to be doing these streams. We're going to be doing these drafts every single night until the season. So you are definitely going to be able to get in a draft with us. Like if we go through, I believe Sidley right here this is a new team. I believe Virology, a new team in here. Okay, NRG, this is a regular, Baitneer regular, and I didn't even see, we got Spack in the chat. We got Spack in the draft. He takes Antonio Gibson to nobody's surprise at the 108. If this is your first time watching a flock draft, we have a regular here named Spack that for whatever reason, every single draft he goes Antonio Gibson, then J.K. Dobbins. And Spack, I'll say that a couple of those random underdog drafts that I was doing earlier today with the public lobbies, I was actually consistently drafting J.K. Dobbins in the 4th round. So my man, I don't think there's any reason for you to go out there and draft him in the 2nd. Then here, Narddog, I believe that's a new name. Pretty new name. T Coffee, that's a regular. Ham, that's a new name. Dash, that's a new name. Lank Dog, that's a regular. So yeah, we have a decent amount of new names in here. So of course, there's always going to be new people getting in these drafts. Okay, so J.K. Dobbins goes at the 205. Zuba out here in the chat. I am very, very excited to see everybody coming out here right away. And if you have yet to drop a like on the live stream, make sure you go down there and drop a like. And I still want to hear your opinion on the biggest thing that stood out to y'all today, because we had a ridiculous amount of games. Okay, so once we start with a Avonte Adams here at the 104, we're most likely just kind of wanting one of these running backs to fall to us. If they don't, it's whatever. Sure, we'll take someone like a Darren Waller. But yeah, let's see what the 2 players before us decide to do. So we actually see Pretty here decide to go with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 3-down running back in the best offense in football. Then T Coffee took Ezekiel Elliott in the 1st round. So who knows? Maybe they go with the DK Metcalf. They go with an A.J. Brown. Very rarely have I been seeing A.J. Brown be drafted over DK Metcalf. I'm completely fine with it. I think they are in the same tier. Now I'm just going to go with a 3-down running back on an offense that I expect to get significantly better. I know a lot of people are going to say, but Mason, it didn't work out last year. Look at everybody who drafted Joe Mixon and how dumb they looked last year. Yeah, well, the people who drafted Joe Mixon last year drafted him when he was playing behind a worse offensive line. They drafted him when Giovanni Bernard was taking pass-catching duties away from him. They also drafted him when he was playing with the rookie quarterback. Now, he has a better offensive line. He's playing with a second-year quarterback. Giovanni Bernard, in his 4 targets per game through his career, is now going to be in Tampa instead. So Joe Mixon at the 209, I'm going to be completely fine with. I love getting this start here. I honestly, and I know a lot of people are not going to agree with me on this one, but to each their own, I prefer the start Avonte Adams, Joe Mixon, compared to Ezekiel Elliott, A.J. Brown. So yeah, I'm perfectly fine with that Avonte Adams selection. Okay, Swizz World said, who called the KJ Hamler pick, ... Mason? Y'all know I called that KJ Hamler pick. I've been holding my tongue, trying not to run victory laps, because right before this live stream, I actually recorded a video that's going to come out tomorrow morning where I go through and talk about the winners from the preseason. And you better believe, y'all know how loud we were screaming at the end of every one of these drafts that we wanted KJ Hamler and why KJ Hamler was such a good draft pick. Y'all know how loud and how adamant I was with that saying. And you know, we have to be excited when we see KJ Hamler go out there and he shows that big play ability. This is a player that we've always known has the talent. He was the youngest receiver in the NFL draft last year. So, of course, you know I'm excited about KJ Hamler. Okay. So Suzuki says, hola, Mason. Saludos, bro, from California. The flock numero uno channel in fantasy football. And here, gracias. Me man. Gracias. Okay, Luke says, so excited for Fields and Lance. I can't wait to get more of Lance. I also ran a premature victory lap in tomorrow morning's video about Trey Lance as well. And I know we're going to get so much hate on tomorrow's video because literally it's just me sitting here like fist pumping going, we got it right, we got it right, we got it right, like with like 6 different players. So I know we're going to get a lot of hate over it because a lot of people like for me to come out here and just talk about when I get stuff wrong. So of course we do that all the time because I get stuff wrong all the time. But today was a good day if you were going through, if you were tracking the calls that we've been making up until date. I mean, think about this week. We called Ramondre Stevenson, KJ Hamler, and nobody's been higher on Trey Lance than we have. Okay. So yeah, we're going to go with CeeDee Lamb there at the 304. CeeDee Lamb has been falling slightly now that we do have Amari Cooper healthy. And one thing with CeeDee Lamb, I don't want to say it was concerning, but it's definitely something I want to continue to monitor. It's going to be very hard to take anything away from the Dallas Cowboys receiver room based on what happened today. But CeeDee Lamb did play exclusively on the outside, while Michael Gallup actually worked his way into the slot a little bit. Now, I don't know if that's necessarily because Amari Cooper wasn't there, so CeeDee Lamb just stepped into the role of Amari Cooper, but definitely going to be something that we are going to be wanting to monitor. So here, Brady gets the trifecta. He gets Travis Kelce, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and Patrick Mahomes in the middle of the first round. Okay, a very intriguing start. Let's see if he can catch back up at receiver. Now you have Montgomery, Chris Carson going at the 3-4 turn. Okay, Andrew says, I second that. I use code FLOCK and don't know how to get any of this stuff. Oh, guys, the description, check the description of the video on just how to get the draft guide and stuff. It's like the easiest thing ever. All you have to do is shoot me a DM, literally on either Twitter, Instagram, Discord, Patreon, literally wherever you can reach me. I also included Discord because I know a lot of people don't have a Twitter or Instagram, and I'm not asking you to create one. For Discord, all you have to do is click our group chat link. Then all of a sudden, you're in a group chat with me, and you can just DM me from there very easily. All you have to do is shoot me a DM of the email that you signed up for Underdog Fantasy with, and then I'll send you that draft guide like that. I'm sure if you ask the people in the chat right now who all got the draft guide, 99% of the people in the chat right now have that draft guide. Jayan says, today was a great day. Yes, sir. Today was a great day. Jayan was just DMing me all day today. Every single UT Longhorn that made anything. I mean, of course, Jayan, we were jumping up and down about Malcolm Brown together, that Malcolm Brown was playing over Myles Gaskin. Something else that I ran a quick victory lap around, but I know people aren't going to like to hear that because Malcolm Brown didn't look good with the carries that he got, even though he was getting them. Okay, so here at the 409, we're going to be in a spot where, okay, so Julio Jones goes. T. Coffee started his draft off Zeke, Swift, and A.J. Brown. So let's see if he decides to, okay, he goes with the Kyle Pitts. Thank God. Y'all know I'm not considering drafting Kyle Pitts. So we're going to have a very easy selection here. We're going to take DJ Moore as our wide receiver 3. This is a very heavy wide receiver start. And I'll say, if you're going to play in the public lobbies on Underdog, like I was going through and I was doing a lot of Best Ball Mania, getting those $1 million tickets in, and there you see wide receivers go way earlier in these drafts. Like if you're drafting in a league like that, it's honestly a viable strategy to pretty much go receiver, 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 and then you can pivot over and start drafting running backs in the 4th. Like I was saying, I was actually drafting DeAndre Swift and J.K. Dobbins in the 4th round in Best Ball Mania leagues, but you really need to make sure you get wide receivers early there because they dry up a little quicker. Now, I'm not going to be streaming those drafts on here unless we hit the 24-hour live stream goal that we have. If you don't know, if we hit 10,000 signups on Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK, we're doing a 24-hour live stream. And of course, then I'll go through and I'll be live streaming everything because it's 24 hours. I'll have nothing else to do. But I've been avoiding those Best Ball Mania drafts on the live stream because it's a completely different strategy than a regular league. And I think here, this is actually a very nice balance of, while yes, it's Best Ball, it's very similar to what you should actually expect in one of your own leagues. Okay, so Josh Jacobs goes. Let's see where Ham decides to take this 503 pick. He started his draft off Kamara, Etienne, Keenan Allen, and Darren Waller. It's a very, very strong start. Okay, so let's see where he goes. Come on. He goes Darrell Henderson. I was honestly, in the back of my mind, kind of hoping that we were going to get Darrell Henderson, even though I'm not a massive fan of him. Now, y'all know 2 of my biggest avoid players up to date have been a Mike Davis and a Myles Gaskin. So even though we probably need a running back sometime soon, I'm not going to be considering them. I think we just get an Adam Thielen. Here's our wide receiver 4. So we're going to start this team off. Let's just show the entire draft board real quick. We're going to start this team off Avonte Adams, Joe Mixon, CeeDee Lamb, DJ Moore, and Adam Thielen. A very, very strong start. Okay, so I see Swizzworld says, I know Jordan says Singletary hype. Okay, were you all that impressed by Devin Singletary? I don't necessarily know if I want to get that excited. I know someone shot me a DM saying like, oh, are we excited about Zach Moss now that he wasn't playing week 1? Does that mean that he's the bona fide starter and we can expect him to be a feature down running back? Guys, Zach Moss is currently injured. I'll say that. But let me know what y'all are thinking about Devin Singletary. Did y'all see something this week that you think is extremely impressive? And guys, if you have yet to go down there and drop a like on the live stream, make sure you do so because we want to get a $100 fantasy draft going after this one. So if we want to get a $100 fantasy draft going, we need to make sure that y'all drop a lot of likes. We need to make sure that this live stream gets recommended out there, because if it doesn't, we may not fill the $100 league. So please make sure y'all drop those likes so we can get more people in the stream, and then we can fill that league easily, because the last $100 draft we did, it was a little hard to go out there and fill. Okay, so now we have we have mixed reports on Singletary right here. Okay, so we have Alex says, I don't think Singletary looked good. Devin says, Devin looked really good. And then Philip says, Singletary's a monster. Okay, so it looks like we just got an argument about going Zach Moss or Devin Singletary in the chat right now. Okay, so here you have the elite quarterbacks finally going off the board. And a big thing that we've been talking about is if you're drafting at the beginning of the second round, I think that it's going to be a significant edge for you to decide to go with someone like either a DeAndre Hopkins or a Stephon Diggs, because we know this is kind of the dead zone in the draft where you're going to be looking at receivers that you're not necessarily that excited about, someone like an Odell Beckham Jr., and you're going to have to ask yourself, do I really want to go out there? Do I really want to reach on a receiver in this range? Do I want to take a running back that I have no faith in? Or do I just want to take one of those elite quarterbacks? And it's a lot easier of a sell to go through and take a Josh Allen whenever you actually do have someone like a Stephon Diggs in the first round, or you take a Kyler Murray in the fifth when you took DeAndre Hopkins in the second. So I do like the idea of going and purposely trying to target those alpha wide receivers. Here in another draft that we did, I believe yesterday, I actually ended up taking Amari Cooper at the 305 for this same reason, because we mapped it out and we know that in this range, I mean, literally the late fifth all the way till the end of the sixth round, it's very much a dead zone where there are like 20 different players that you could go with. You don't really love the value on any of them. And we decided to maybe quote unquote reach a little bit on an Amari Cooper when we actually had CeeDee Lamb going at the 303. I believe we took Amari at the 305 and we went, okay, well, we think that we can get Dak Prescott here consistently. He ended up falling in that draft. Now we did not get him in this one, possibly because we started talking about the potential of a Dak stack. And obviously people are going to come out here and try to snipe us. Okay, so now let's pull this let's pull this up real quick. And there are a couple players that I have my eyes on. You know, I'm kind of drooling over them at this point. Okay, so Deebo Samuel goes. And honestly, once we have 4 receivers on this roster, I'm hoping that receivers are going to start going off this draft board. Now, T. Coffee started his draft off Zeke, Swift, Brown, Claypool, and Kyle Pitts. So hopefully he goes with Laviska Shenault. Laviska Shenault, supposedly a very good game today. Here it's going to be one of the easiest selections I could ever make. We need a running back too. We're going to get our guy in Kareem Hunt, a former leader in the NFL in total rushing yards on the season. And also with the Kareem Hunt playing behind one of the best offensive lines in the NFL, if not the best. If anything were to occur to Nick Chubb, I'm drafting Kareem Hunt as probably a top 5 running back, to be honest, even though I know a lot of people hate me saying that. Okay, so Kenny Golladay at the 6'10", Javonte Williams at the 6'11". And guys, if you have not dropped a like on the live stream, please, I am begging you. I want to make sure that we're filling this $100 draft, so y'all need to make sure you're going down there and dropping that like on the stream. I actually need to pick up my phone real quick and drop a like on the stream on my phone. That way we can just get one more on here, because I want as many people in the stream as possible. I want to make sure that we are filling out this $100 draft. Okay, so we got that up to 93 likes just with my phone. Perfect. A team player right there, team player. Okay, so Javonte Williams, also someone that we have been consistently drafting, goes at the 6'11". I think both Kareem Hunt and Javonte Williams are fantastic picks in this range. I mean, I'm going to be going out of my way to select them. I don't know how many times I have to say this. I do not believe that Melvin Gordon is going to be the starting running back for the long haul in Denver. I have no idea how other people are pumping that out and actually standing by that. No, Javonte Williams, a much better running back than Melvin Gordon. I think Javonte Williams there at the 6'11" is great value. Okay, so let's switch this over. Now we start with 4 receivers to really build a strong base of this team. So when we're on the clock here, honestly, y'all know I'm not a massive fan of Cortland Sutton. I've been saying that Fant, Hamler, Judy are just going to take way too many targets away from him. This is going to be seen as a reach, but I think considering that we have a wide receiver, I don't want to say on lock, but we're very strong at receiver. I think we can afford to go down and reach slightly. We're going to take... No, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I wanted to take Rodgers because that would have completed that stack with Avonte Adams. And y'all know I'm not a massive fan of Sutton. But the problem is, like I've said so many times before, while I love stacking, if you're going out of your way and you're reaching that far to complete your stack, like if we're taking a player like an Aaron Rodgers over a Russell Wilson, I think at that point we're getting a little too cute with it, and we're kind of erasing a little bit of the upside that we actually get from the potential stack that we would have with Rodgers. So yeah, there instead, I think we go with the Cortland Sutton. Even though I'm not very excited about it, I think the receivers that we're going to have available to us on the way back, they're going to be disgusting. And maybe we go get our guy. Maybe we go get Trey Lance a little later on. Jack says Lawrence looked so bad today. Guys, we can't overreact to today. I mean, if Lawrence is going to drop an ADP whatsoever, I'm going to be going out there and I'm going to be taking him. Daniel says it would be so cool if we could have friends on Underdog like you can with on DK. I completely agree with you. And I'm going to send the people over at Underdog. I will ask tonight for us to see if we can like set up some kind of friend group with everybody that use promo code FLOCK. I think that's a great idea. And I hope that we can do something like that. I'd imagine that it's eventually like that. But I just think right now, I think maybe right now that's a little bit much of an ask. Okay, so DJ Chark at the 709. Okay, so Chark is now here going almost a full round behind Laviska Shenault. Yeah, so you have Shenault at the 608, Chark at the 709. So he did go a full round behind Laviska. Like I said, guys, with the Chark injury, we did end up moving Laviska Shenault over DJ Chark in the rankings. I think that's a very easy stance to have for now, considering that Laviska is getting all the usage with Trevor Lawrence in training camp in preseason as well. And also, we were kind of worried a little bit about Urban Meyer not necessarily using wide receivers as traditional guys we've seen at Ohio State based on, remember, Michael Thomas coming out as a prospect. He was not some superb prospect that you actually had. He was someone that, I don't want to say was a bad prospect, but he was very polarizing and he kind of came from nowhere. And it was because they miscast those receivers and they put them in a very specific roles that it was so hard to evaluate those guys coming into the NFL. I'm a little concerned that if DJ Chark isn't actually out there and playing in training camp, that something similar could happen to him. Jeremy says, imagine signing up for Underdog and not using code FLOCK. Absolute cringe. My man, you just sent shivers down my body with just having to imagine that. That is brutal. That sounds like one of the worst things that you could do. Okay, so let's pull this up real quick. Did not mean to show y'all my face. Of course, nobody really cares about seeing that. And here we are going to be the 809, licking our chops. I mean, I'm kind of drooling right now with what we're going to have falling to us. Okay, so Darnell Mooney goes to the 806. Russell Wilson at the 807. Okay, so never mind. I kind of lied to y'all. Never mind. Just completely ignore me. Maybe I spoke way too soon. Marvin Jones goes. So y'all know we almost took Aaron Rodgers in the last round. Now we are getting Rodgers to stack with Avonte Adams, but this time when we're completing that stack, we're getting so at an unbelievable value. Rodgers ADP pick 83. We get him at 93, 10 picks after his ADP, and we get him on a team where we took Davante Adams. Love getting Aaron Rodgers there. Sean says, is Underdog legal in all 50 states? No, it is not legal in Washington. It is not legal in Nevada, and it is not legal in Louisiana. I know why it's not legal in Nevada, because of Las Vegas. No idea why it's not legal in the other places, but obviously the sports gambling legislature hopefully just goes through and sorts everything out within the next 3 years. I'd imagine that Underdog is legal everywhere very, very soon. Okay, so Will Fuller, Jarvis Landry. Honestly, in considering that we got Sutton at the 704, while I actually probably prefer Juju Smith-Schuster over Cortland Sutton in my rankings, a big thing is just how often are we going to have the opportunity to draft Cortland Sutton at the 704? So even if we do like a Juju, even if we possibly like a DJ Chark a little more in our rankings, I think that we possibly just, when we're going to be drafting 250 teams, have to take the quote-unquote value there with Cortland Sutton, knowing that if we draft him at the 704, it's going to make it where we don't have to draft him in the 6th and any other draft, and that's going to be exciting for me. And then we can be drafting a guy like a Juju, a guy like a DJ Chark in the late 7th. Okay, so Jalen Waddle goes at the 902. Let's pull this up. And when is Curtis Samuel going to be healthy again? I think maybe we have to... We definitely have to kind of hinder our expectations on a Curtis Samuel. The thing is, if we pass on running back here, I think the guys that we're looking at in the late 10th round aren't necessarily going to be that appealing. So we're going to get someone that we know has guaranteed touches. We're just going to take Ronald Jones here. We're going to take him as our running back 3. He doesn't have a bye that matches up with either Joe Mixon or Kareem Hunt. So yeah, this is, let me show off the top of the draft board for anybody who's just now coming in here. And also, if you're just now coming in here, make sure you're dropping this like, because we are crushing this draft where Avonte Adams in the first. I know a lot of people are going to hate it. I'm doing me. Joe Mixon in the second. Lamb, DJ Moore, Adam Thielen, Kareem Hunt, Cortland Sutton, Aaron Rodgers, and Ronald Jones. Harrison says, how does Underdog work and how many do you start from each position? Great questions, my man. Okay, so you start 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 receivers, a tight end, and a flex. So there are going to be 18 rounds. And what's very unique about Underdog, and what I really like about Underdog, is the fact that during the season, you do not have to submit, and you literally can't submit your starting lineup or make waiver claims. So what's going to happen is your roster locks after the draft, and the best starting lineup for you at the end of each week is automatically submitted. So if you randomly have a Tyler Lockett going off for 50 points, he's sliding into your starting lineup. And then that makes it where you can go through, you can do as many drafts as you want, and you don't have the time commitment during the middle of the season to actually have to pay attention to your teams. Whereas I know that y'all are going to be playing in a ton of your own leagues that you care about with your friends, with other leagues that you're going to be putting up a significant amount of money. So you don't want to be getting into 15 fantasy leagues, then having to do the waiver wire for all of them. So you can stick it with 2 or 3 of the ones that you really care about. And then on Underdog, you can get really good at drafting for those other teams by going through doing these real money drafts, because they offer $3, $5, $50, $100 drafts. And if you go through, use promo code FLOCK, make a $10 deposit. They add $25 to your account. You have $35 in your account. Do some quick math. If you want to hop in 11 $3 drafts, that's the best practice that you were ever going to have, because I don't know how many times I have to say this, but if you're drafting against a computer, you're wasting your time. If you're drafting against a bunch of people that are auto-selecting, you're wasting your time. And here, SPAC ends up getting Trey Lance at the 908. This is maybe one of my favorite selections that we have had from SPAC throughout his entire career in drafting in the Flock live streams. I mean, getting Lance at the 908, someone that's going to continue to rise in ADP. Now, what's going to be great about Trey Lance is if you're playing in a casual league with your friends that don't necessarily pay that much attention to everything, I mean, you're going to have an opportunity to draft Trey Lance significantly later than this. These are the people that are really paying attention. These are the people that have been playing fantasy football for, I don't want to say all offseason, but for a very long time now. So, I mean, Trey Lance, he's not going to be seen on ESPN, on Yahoo, wherever you're drafting. His ADP is going to be way beyond this. So you can actually sneak him a lot later than these guys. Now, Justin Fields at the 10:05, y'all know. Let me see what other quarterbacks were available. Yeah, I can't take Justin Fields over Jalen Hurts or Joe Burrow. So I have to revoke my compliments back. Still a very bad draft. Okay, so if we recap our team real quick, at quarterback, we have Rodgers. At running back, we have Mixon, Hunt, Rojo. At receiver, we have Avonte Adams, CeeDee Lamb, DJ Moore, Adam Thielen, and Cortland Sutton. Okay, so Logan Thomas goes. Logan Thomas would have been someone I'd be very excited about adding to this team where we do not have a tight end already. Of course, here, when we don't have a tight end, I think it's honestly going to be a pretty easy selection. I think we just go with the Noah Fant. Noah Fant, I have been on board as, I think right now, actually, I didn't want to tweet this out because I didn't want a bunch of people just screaming at me for running victory laps in the preseason. Like, I know I'm going to get screamed at with the video yesterday. But if you don't look at my ownership percentage right now on Underdog, but instead they can actually sort it by the amount of money in terms of your buy-ins to the leagues where you've drafted a player, KJ Hamler is actually my number 1 receiver in terms of the buy-ins to the league that I've drafted him in. He is my number 2 receiver in ownership, but I've been drafting him a lot in the $50, the $100 leagues where, yes, Hamler, of course, is going to be always the number 1 player I'm drafting in Denver. But if I'm going to be drafting someone between Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, or Noah Fant, I actually think Noah Fant's most likely the best value out of those guys, because I don't necessarily think he's that much worse of a receiver. And at the same time, he's playing the tight end position. So you know that's going to be a lot harder to find production there. So yeah, Noah Fant at the 10:09, really going to like that value. Okay, so Tony Pollard at the 11:01. Okay, so now let's go to the 1104 real quick. Here we're probably going to go with the receiver. I mean, I guess we could go QB. So Michael Pittman goes, and a big thing is if we draft a quarterback here, we're not necessarily going to have to go through and draft another one anytime soon. Yeah, so I think we draft a quarterback, and we're not going to have to draft another one throughout this entire draft. Rashad Bateman would be intriguing if it wasn't for the injury that he had. We could also end up going with a Kenyon Drake here. I'm a big fan of Drake. I think when we draft Mixon, we're already kind of betting on the offense. So might as well go through, might as well just draft a Joe Burrow. Okay, they're by week 10, by week 13. Thank God we didn't make that mistake again. So we're going to draft Burrow here. And we're only going to draft 2 quarterbacks in this league, and we're going to be able to go through and get an extra roster spot for either wide receiver or running back, whatever we're needing. We're most likely going to have to draft 3 tight ends on this team regardless. So yeah, let's take Burrow. Let's scroll down here to show off exactly where we are beyond this. Okay, Dana White says Gesicki or Irv Smith Jr. Right now, I actually have Mike Gesicki higher in my rankings. If you pull up my rankings, I am considerably higher on Mike Gesicki than I am on Irv Smith. Or really, I think Mike Gesicki, compared to Underdog ADP, our rankings are higher on him than anybody else, because I just recently made a video where I had to reference this. So let me pull up my notes app. So real quick, if you look at my rankings in terms of Mike Gesicki, I currently have Mike Gesicki ranked as the 113th player overall, and his ADP is 133. So we have him 20 spots before his ADP. Now, this is before the game today. And then we go through, we look at where an Irv Smith is. Irv Smith is actually 128 in my rankings, so significantly lower. And in Underdog ADP, he's actually 127. So most other people are taking Irv Smith over Mike Gesicki, but I've just been considerably higher on Mike Gesicki than most other people. So I'm going to be taking Gesicki. Okay, XPup says, what is the best team name you have ever heard of for a fantasy football team? That is a very, very good question, guys. Go down there and spam the chat with the best name that you have heard, and try to not to make it something basic. Try to make it something that you don't think that we have heard before. Alex says, can you have a quarterback in the flex spot on one of these? No, this is not a super flex league. This is going to be a 1 quarterback format. Okay, so David Johnson at the 1201, Cole Beasley at the 1202. So Kenyon Drake, I think this is fantastic value at the end of the 11th. I think this is a fantastic value. Jake says, I get the hype on Javonte, but Denver is paying Melvin Gordon close to $9 million this year. He's 28, and the Broncos have no incentive to not use the hell out of him. I think he's going to get annoying in split time. I will say that the contract given to Melvin Gordon was not recent, so the fact that they're paying him $9 million doesn't necessarily indicate anything. The majority of that money was guaranteed, so they did not have the opportunity to get out of it. So I understand where you're coming from, but I think that the context that the contract is in doesn't necessarily point to him having a ton of usage. So yeah, I don't necessarily want to say that Melvin Gordon's a good pick for that reason, and Javonte Williams is a bad one, even though I know where you're coming from. Okay, so at the 1209 here, let's go through. Let's see where we are going to be going. We can't draft a quarterback. We're done at QB. We can go any other position. So the 1209, I think when we already have 5 receivers, and those receivers are Adams, CeeDee Lamb, DJ Moore, Adam Thielen, and Cortland Sutton, it's not going to be, there's no real pressure for us to go out there and continue to draft receivers. So here, possibly we get the last tight end in this tier. We go get a Gerald Everett. I really hate reaching on tight end, though, considering there are some targets that I like having a lot later on. Do we just go and get a Marquez Callaway, someone that looked really good today, someone that's been getting a ton of positive reports coming out of camp about him, and he looks like he could be the receiver 1 in New Orleans? I really hope I'm not just... We're going to take Callaway. I hope I'm not overthinking it. I hope I'm not playing into the preseason hype a little too much. This could easily just be about me getting a little too excited about what we actually have, and that's finally having football. So we're going to take Callaway there, not necessarily thinking that it's a great selection, but yeah, we're going to take him there at the 1209 tight end. I think there are just a few targets that I prefer a little later on. Okay. So let me go through, and I realized it was probably a bad idea for me to ask y'all about the best team names that y'all have heard for fantasy football leagues, because now that I'm going through and reading these, while a lot of them are pretty funny, I can't read them out loud on the stream. So yeah, so I'm just going to continue to ignore that. And yeah, I know that Marquez Callaway there, a lot of people are really going to, I know a lot of people are not going to like that. Okay, so Gerald Everett goes. Everett would have been someone that we would have considered taking over Callaway. He would have been my pick over Callaway because we're not considering the quarterback position once we take Rodgers and once we take Joe Burrow. Okay, I see Swizz World says Everett and Noah Fant are the same. My man, that could not be further from the truth. Noah Fant is a significantly better talent than Gerald Everett. Significantly better. I mean, Noah Fant going into year 3, and I mean, he has been extremely productive for what you expect out of a tight end his age through the first 2 years in his NFL career. And you usually don't expect those tight ends to burst onto the scene until year 3 anyway. Okay, so now we have Ham on the clock. He's gone. Okay, so he goes Emmanuel Sanders. Now, the thing is, I think we possibly just go and we get a running back with elite level handcuff upside in an Alexander Madison. If we're deciding to do something else, we're going to take a Nelson Aguilar. And when we have Mixon, Hunt, Ronald Jones on this team, I'm not excited enough about our running back position to just go out there and continue to ignore it. So we're going to take Madison. Obviously, this is a running back that doesn't have standalone value. You're essentially just drafting him and saying, hell, if Dalvin Cook goes down, then all of a sudden we have a 3-down running back in fantasy. So yeah, it's more the contingent value that you have rather than the standalone. But at the same time, I think when we kind of need a running back, that's going to be the play. If we go back and we try to figure out where we could have gone differently earlier in this draft, maybe the actual play would have been to take a Kenyon Drake over Joe Burrow, and then here with an Alexander Madison, take a Matt Ryan instead. I think that now that we say that out loud, that's actually a much better plan, and we should try to implement that going forward. I mean, here, a Kenyon Drake in the 11th round was just too good a value, and there were going to be more quarterbacks later on. So let me know what y'all prefer between Joe Burrow and Alexander Madison, or someone else that we would have taken over Burrow was going to be Kenyon Drake. So let me know what y'all prefer between Burrow, Madison, or Drake, Matt Ryan. I probably prefer Drake, Matt Ryan. So that's most likely a mistake that we made. Now let me real quick go through and show y'all the very top of the draft board. So here you see that we went Avonte Adams at the 104, Mixon, Lamb, DJ Moore, Adam Thielen, Kareem Hunt, Cortland Sutton, Aaron Rodgers, Ronald Jones, Noah Fant, Joe Burrow, Marquez Callaway, Alexander Madison. So I know that so far through this live stream, probably the most hated pick that we're going to have is the Marquez Callaway. But I think in a best ball format, I think that he's just going to get too many targets not to be excited about him. Swizz World says mid-round tight end hit rate isn't good. My man, I know. I've literally gone out there and I've made that historical research video showing exactly how bad that hit rate is. Trust me. I know, my man. I do. That's why I ended up actually passing on to Gerald Everett here. Well, one of the reasons. Okay, so let's pull this back up. So when we're at the 1409, I think we possibly just consider taking a receiver. Because if we go receiver here, then that's going to put us in a spot where we're going to be able to consistently crush the field in our top 3 slots as well as our flex. And we're going to have enough production to get away with it at running back. We're going to be great at QB with the combination of Aaron Rodgers and Joe Burrow. No, actually, Gronk goes at the 1406. The 2 teams before us both have 2 tight ends. Let's check out who. Travis Kelce and Logan Thomas right here. And T. Coffee has Kyle Pitts, Adam Troutman. So I think we're actually safe to say this. We're probably going Cole Kmet with this next pick. Yeah, we're going Cole Kmet here. This is actually the tight end that I looked at when we decided to pass on a Gerald Everett in the last round. I'm going to consistently be drafting Cole Kmet when he does fall to us, as he's playing in an offense that doesn't have that much target competition. And at the same time, I mean, you're looking at him as someone that was the best tight end in last year's class, which, yes, was a weak draft class at tight end, but he actually got on the field and he was able to run some routes in his rookie season at an extremely young age. Okay, so now let's go through. Parker says, hey, Mason, I love the content. If you had a choice of draft position in a 10-team dynasty startup draft, what round spot would you choose? You choose the 101. That's my answer every single time. There are very few years where you don't want the 101. I'll say in a Dynasty Superflex League last year, that was one of the scenarios where I wanted the 104. I was trying to get the 104 as often as we could because there you had the luxury of getting either one of Saquon Barkley, Christian McCaffrey, Patrick Mahomes, or Lamar Jackson, whoever fell. And I know that we're saying that right now. That doesn't necessarily sound that appealing. But last year, I mean, all those players were considered in the same range. Okay, so let's pull this up. We're not going to be looking QB. This is either going to be running back, receiver, or tight end. So the 1504. I think we're probably going to go receiver. So we have 4 running backs in this team. So we are going to be taking one more. But I don't necessarily think that any of these running backs stand out from the rest. Yeah, so we're going to be just going with a Paris Campbell here. Someone that y'all know I've said repeatedly that I think he's a lot closer to Michael Pittman than what people are giving him credit for. I think that I wouldn't be surprised whatsoever if he was actually the wide receiver 1 in Indianapolis this upcoming season. Yes, he was disappointing his rookie season coming out of Ohio State, but at the same time, you go back, he was actually more productive, significantly more productive at Ohio State in that same exact situation than Terry McLaurin was. And he was younger than Terry McLaurin when they were both playing there. And I know that's not a one-for-one comparison. I understand that they were in very specific roles, but at the same time, there's something to get excited about with the Paris Campbell if he can stay healthy. So we're going to be taking him there at the 1504 just to see Xavier Jones and James White go off directly after. Okay, so now so are people in the chat telling us that Jimmy Graham over Cole Kmet? I could not get with Jimmy Graham over Cole Kmet. I do not agree with that whatsoever, my man. I think that is Cole Kmet every day of the week. Cole Kmet was continuing to get more and more snaps at the end of last year. He was drafted at 21 years old coming out of Notre Dame. So yeah, Cole Kmet, he's going to continue to expand his role this season. Honestly, I'm not even concerned about it. Okay, so Jamison Crowder at the 1507. Hunter Henry at the 1508. And also, guys, if you have yet to drop a like on the live stream, make sure you go down there and drop that like because this next draft that we are going to try to fill is going to be a $100 league. Now, last time we tried to fill a $100 league, it was very, very slow and honestly a little scary. So make sure you are dropping that like ASAP so we can make sure that we get more people in the live stream and we can fill this $100 league, no problem. Okay, so Derek Carr at the 1511. We need to see quarterbacks go off the board. We already have our 2 guys. We're not looking to draft any more quarterbacks really at all this draft. I think we're going to get one more tight end. We're going to get one more running back and one more receiver. MGC says, will the draft link you send in the chat be directly to your league? Yes, sir. So whenever we set up the $100 league, I'm going to specify in the chat message, join our $100 league. Do not join the $100 league in the lobby of Underdog. That's going to be a public league. I'm making a league exclusively for the subscribers of this channel that are in the live chat right now. Okay, so Giovanni Bernard at the 1601. And if you want in the $100 league, guys, y'all are going to be able to get in. You know the $5 league, you literally have to press it 0.01 seconds after it pops up on the screen. If you wait half a second, it's filled. The $100 league, you could go. You could probably take a bath. You could take a nap. You could come back. Then it's still going to be ready, and you can join in, and we can get that going. Ryan Fitzpatrick at the 1604. Okay, so let's pull this back up. Okay, so we're going to get rid of the QB. We're just going to be looking running back, receiver, tight end. Jerick McKinnon at the 1606. What does our wide receiver core look like? We have Adams, Lamb, DJ Moore, Adam Thielen, Cortland Sutton, Marquez Callaway, Paris Campbell. Honestly, I hate to say this, and if you would have told me I was going to be saying this just a month ago, I'd have probably deleted the YouTube channel. But Zach Ertz, if he's going in the last few rounds here, he has to be a decent value. I think we actually have to kind of take our L on Eric Ebron, where Pat Freiermuth got a decent amount of snaps in the preseason. And I know it's just the preseason, but at the same time, that is noteworthy that they're getting him on the field with the first team offense. Blake Jarwin, we don't necessarily know who the tight end is going to be. So we're just going to take This is our first time, I believe, we actually drafted him. But we're going to take Zach Ertz. Maybe this is me playing too much into the preseason. Let me know what y'all think about that. That could very easily be a very bad pick. And let me go through. Let me show the entire draft board for everybody. Okay, so here are the first, I believe, 8 rounds. Let's go through, show the bottom 8 rounds. Of course, you can pause it, take a screenshot, whatever you're wanting to do. Go down there, tell me how good my team is. Honestly, not even fair, to be completely honest. And also, are we done with the games? The worst thing, and it's not even close, the worst thing about moving to Florida is the East Coast time zone. Oh my gosh. For everybody who's been living on the East Coast for a long time, tell me how you do it. The time zone is brutal. Central was significantly better. Like significantly better. Okay, we're going to take, you know what? We're not going to do that. We're going to go way down the board here. We're going to go get Malcolm Brown as our running back 5 here. We're going to get Malcolm Brown as someone that this is a player that out-snapped Myles Gaskin this game. Myles Gaskin was actually running with the second team. And we've been on Malcolm Brown for quite a while now. So I think this is just another positive sign. We're going to be willing to reach on him at this point to bring him in as a running back 5 because clearly he is not just a handcuff at this point behind Myles Gaskin. Clearly he has a small role on this offense at the very minimum. NRG Fantasy Focus says check out his team. Okay, so let's go. Let's check out the 110 real quick. He goes Aaron Jones, Nick Chubb, Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp. Okay, so I'm assuming that he ends up getting Matthew Stafford on this team. Yeah, so he gets Stafford, and then he has Mike Davis, Odell, McCole Hardman, Tyler Higbee, Ryan Tannehill. So he gets a triple stack on this team. He goes Woods, Cooper Kupp, Tyler Higbee, and Matthew Stafford. So essentially this team is betting, does Matthew Stafford lead the NFL in passing? If he does, well, hell, good luck beating this team. If he doesn't, well, it's going to be a rough season. But that's kind of what you want in fantasy. You kind of want to sit there and go, we only have about an 8% chance to win the league anyway. Let's go out. Let's try to put all our eggs in one basket because if he comes out and he's very strong, then you know you're going to be crushing. Okay, so Dwayne Eskridge, Donovan Peoples-Jones. Donovan Peoples-Jones is someone that has continued to rise in ADP. Dawson Knox at the 1709. Icarus says 10 a.m. football is amazing. Then 1 p.m. Then you got primetime, a full day of football that way. Yeah, I'd imagine that honestly, the West Coast time zone would be pretty dang good. I mean, I think that I am about done with this East Coast BS, to be completely honest. Okay. So Darrington Evans at the 1711. This is a running back that I do think has more upside than a Malcolm Brown. Like if I was going through and I was drafting a team not for best ball and instead I was drafting a team just to make start-sit decisions, I most likely would prefer Darrington Evans, and that you know it's going to be very simple on when to start him or not, and that if Derrick Henry's healthy, you never consider starting him. You would get laughed at if you did that. Whereas if Derrick Henry's injured, well, it's a clear place where you can go out and start Darrington Evans. But in a best ball league where you don't have to submit your starting lineup, I think with the Malcolm Brown here, you actually have the potential for him to have some random spike weeks where maybe he finds his way into the end zone. So yeah, I think we're going to be completely fine with that. Boggo coming out with a donation says $100 draft, Snipes incoming. I did $150 IDP Dynasty draft today. Do you grade IDP leagues? I stacked Lance, Ayuk, and Kittle. My man, that is one thing that I really don't necessarily want to give my input in. Now, I've done a few IDP drafts before, specifically this offseason. And the reason I got a little into them this offseason, just testing out the waters, is because we've had so many people on Patreon sending me their dynasty teams and sending me their 2021 redraft teams and even some underdog teams to break down in podcast. And every single time we get an IDP sent to me, I just have to say, my man, I am very sorry. I am more than happy breaking down the offensive side of this ball, but I am just limited with my knowledge of IDP and the strategy behind it, where I just kind of have to excuse myself and I can't talk about it because I really don't want to speak on something that I'm not comfortable with my thought process behind. So yeah, we've been avoiding discussing IDP whatsoever. Okay, so now let's go through. And also, guys, I figured out what the projection here means for Underdog. And they don't really have an algorithm going through and projecting, okay, so if you get a third quarterback, you're probably going to get a bump up in about 3 points per game. It looks like they literally just take the projection that they have for the player and they add it onto your projection. So I've learned the hard way now, I want to say, because I've been caring a lot about this, that this projection number here does not mean a goddamn thing. It doesn't mean a single thing. Ramondre Stevenson going undrafted in this league. That is 100% notable. So now with our last pick, I think we're just gonna take Van Jefferson. This is probably the first time that we've actually drafted Van Jefferson in any of these leagues. But yeah, but we're gonna take a Van Jefferson. Josh Palmer then goes, and let's just get this $100 league set up now. Hopefully we can fill this. If you have yet to drop a like on the live stream, you need to go down there. You need to drop a like. Help us get recommended out there to get this live stream a little larger. That way we don't have any problem filling this out. Okay, so let me back out of this draft. Let's set this up. And I'm just going to type it in the chat. $100 league right here. Okay, so let's go through. And please, let's fill this within like 2 or 3 minutes. The thing is, I just don't want to have to be sitting here 5 minutes to try to fill it. Okay, so here, sending this out in the live chat right now. And I'm going to probably spam this a little. Okay, so David says, I tried to join the $100 league last time, but it's said like unavailable for some reason. I had the funds and there was room. Okay, my man, I am sorry. I have no idea why that happened. Make sure you shoot Underdog customer support a message. Based on what I have heard, I've heard that they've been very responsive with the messages that they have gotten, and they've gotten back to people literally within 10, 15 minutes. So if you ever have a problem on Underdog Fantasy, guys, and I know we've gotten probably like 3-4 DMs over the past week saying that, oh, I had this issue, or oh, I had this issue. Every single time that I tell them, hey, message Underdog support, it seems like they get it fixed like that. So just definitely make sure you message Underdog support. And guys, $100 draft. Y'all know Underdog loves to give me the crappy draft positions. You know that they always like to get me the 111, the 109, the 108. And I'm fine with it. If we're doing a $5 warm-up league, who the hell cares? Give me the 111. But when we have a $100 draft on the line, what I need, and I'm not asking for it, what I need is either the 101 or the 102. Check this bad boy out. Here we go. This is going to be one hell of a draft. Buckle up, guys. We are going to be crushing this league. I will tell you that. Dalvin Cook at the 102. Let's lock it in. Actually, the down Truden, my man, I've actually heard that Dalvin Cook's a really, really strong running back to outproduce Christian McCaffrey this year. So I'd probably, if I was right here at the 101, I'd probably take Dalvin, to be honest. Okay, he goes CMC. I mean, he takes a bum at the 101. I didn't want CMC at all, so I'm perfectly fine with that. Let's drive Dalvin Cook there at the 102, and let's get this started, and let's get this party going. Joey says, how many damn leagues are you in, bro? My man, I'm going to be in probably 250 plus leagues, and just know that, I mean, if there's anybody on Fantasy Football YouTube that plays in as many fantasy leagues as I do, or cares as much about fantasy football as I do, point them out to me, because they do not exist. The only person that does is actually the guy over there that runs the Dynasty Football Flock. I don't necessarily know if y'all have heard of him. He plays in a ton of Dynasty fantasy football leagues. He obsesses with that all offseason. I mean, I even heard that he made a video every single day throughout the NFL offseason, like a maniac. Yeah, that guy's on another level. I probably would never be able to compete with him whatsoever. So let's kind of ignore him, to be honest. Dylan says, so Cook and CMC in the same tier now. No, obviously CMC's a clear tier ahead of Dalvin Cook. Just saying that as a joke. But here, I literally, if you pull up our rankings and our tiers, which you get if you use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy, make a $10 deposit, at the same time get a $25 bonus, you will see that we have Christian McCaffrey, tier 1. Tier 2, Dalvin Cook. Tier 3, a bunch of players. I mean, it's so clearly CMC the 101, Dalvin Cook the 102. Now, the reason is, I mean, you could go through, you can nitpick any of the running backs that are going to be going after these two guys. Derrick Henry. You have the change in offensive coordinator. Arthur Smith is out of there. You also have the fact that he's 27 and a half years old. You see, this is when historically running backs fall off. At the same time, he's coming off of back-to-back years where he totals over 800 total touches. That's a red flag. Alvin Kamara, red flag that he is missing Drew Brees. Instead, he's going to be playing with the Taysom Hill. Chalk it up, red flag. Ezekiel Elliott, you see a career low in efficiency, a complete fall off. At the same time, he's currently second in the NFL in active touches, only behind Mark Ingram. That's at least a red flag. Then you have Saquon Barkley. We don't even need to get into the red flags that you have with an offensive line, with the injuries. Then, in Aaron Jones, you have A.J. Dillon. And Austin Eckler down here, you have the goal line usage that can't equal what Dalvin Cook has. So all these running backs in this range, you can find at least one thing to nitpick them with, but you can't do it with Dalvin Cook. So Dalvin Cook, clearly going to be the 102. Okay, so now we have Calvin Ridley at the 201, DeAndre Hopkins at the 202. Okay, so we have Boggo in here as Rugger. We have NRG Fantasy Focus. He was shooting me DMs on Twitter today saying he was looking to get in a high-stakes league. We have Hoop State. Okay, Deezenators, Party. Okay, we got another regular out here. Okay, Bucci's Best Ball. I believe this is a new name that I've yet to see. The Downtruden, I think this is a new name. Daddy Rabbit, I think this is new. JT Sack, I recognize. Deezenators, obviously. Starred Struder, I know. Hoop State, we know. Okay, so there are about YouTube Slayer. I believe we saw that name on Twitter today. Maybe I sent out a draft guide recently. I don't know if he's gotten into a draft with us yet. Okay, so there's definitely a mix of regulars and there's a mix of some new players with us. Okay, so M says you have to explain how we get access to your tier list once we make a deposit. Literally, all you have to do is, guys, go to the description of the live stream. You'll see it right there. All you need to do is shoot me a DM on either Twitter, Instagram, Patreon, Discord, or anything. And all you have to do is send me your Underdog email. That way I can confirm that you signed up with promo code FLOCK. And right there, literally, this is a process that takes like this. I shoot you our 2021 draft guide, our 2021 rankings, our 2021 tiers to that same email. So make sure you just send me that DM ASAP. I literally go through and I check every site like almost every hour. The very most, you're waiting 2 hours tops. I've gotten about 30 DMs of people saying, whoa, that was fast. I didn't expect you to send it over that fast. And I'm saying, what did you expect? Did you expect me to wait 3 days to send you the draft guide? Of course, I'm going to send it out that same day. Okay, so now after we go with a Dalvin Cook here at the 211, we're going to have a couple players falling to us that I'm fine with. I'm not going to say them out loud. Of course, this is a $100 draft. I'm going to have to kind of zip it up and not talk until we are on the clock. And also what sucks is since we're picking at the turn here, I don't necessarily want to say what we're thinking while we are on the clock. Now I'll say that it's going to be an easy pick. Very rarely are you ever seeing DK Metcalf fall this far down the board. So we're going to start this draft off with a Dalvin Cook and a DK Metcalf. Metcalf's someone I haven't drafted a ton in these leagues, but that's because a lot of times he's going closer to the DeAndre Hopkins than he's going the AJ Brown, than the Justin Jefferson. And I actually think that he's like neck and neck with AJ Brown with me. I'm fine with you taking either player over him. And now we're going to go DK Metcalf, Justin Jefferson. Let's get this going. What I need is I need to have like a button in here that I can like just throw on some dance music, some no copyright dance music, and we can just party when we get this kind of turn in a $100 draft. Dalvin Cook, DK Metcalf, Justin Jefferson. This is the time, my dudes. This is the time. Tyler says, Dalvin has never played a full season, brother. Let's slow down with that. Nothing on Dalvin. We know that's cap. My man, I'm not even a massive Dalvin Cook fan. I will say that. I'm not even sitting here and saying that, I've loved Dalvin Cook since he came out of FSU. That, in the 2017 draft class, I was screaming that Dalvin Cook was better than Leonard Fournette. That was a lot of the conversation that you were having. If y'all remember back in Dynasty in 2017, it was so funny with Dalvin Cook coming out of as a prospect because you had like two completely different communities on him. You had a bunch of people focusing in on the fact that he had a bad 3-cone and all of a sudden that he was dropping in fantasy drafts for that, which was hilarious. You also had people that watched film that were just screaming that Dalvin Cook was the best running back to ever come into the NFL, and there was nothing in between. So I'll say that, honestly, I kind of was always neutral on Dalvin. I even maybe was a little lower on him than most, but I have to be completely unbiased here. If you're looking at the situation that he is in with his offensive line has improved in his bell cow type usage, Dalvin Cook is clearly a tier ahead of all those other guys. Okay, Daniel says, Mason, when I drafted with you, Underdog was like 10 seconds ahead of the YouTube audio. So if you say what you're thinking, I've already had to make the decisions. Yeah, I know that what we have is we have a slight lag on YouTube. I don't necessarily know exactly what the lag is. So usually that's why if they're like 4 or 5 seconds left on the clock, I can be safe and I can say whatever I'm thinking. But if it's like 15 seconds on the clock, I'm just going to play it safe and I'm going to have to just zip my lip. Okay, so we have David Montgomery sliding up to the 304. I guess because David Montgomery leaves with a slight injury today. Obviously, you're not going to have to be concerned about that injury, but it is funny to see David Montgomery now sliding up above J.K. Dobbins and above DeAndre Swift. And I've been seeing DeAndre Swift fall in a decent amount of these leagues, which, of course, I don't want to say it's something that we need to be attacking, because I think we need to continue to monitor the injury situation. But at the same time, I've been drafting DeAndre Swift when he falls to me in the 4th round, and I haven't been thinking about it that much at all. Okay, so you have Robert Woods, Allen Robinson. Love the Allen Robinson value that you're getting at the 309. I'm going to start a draft off with Saquon Barkley, Antonio Gibson, Allen Robinson. I think that's about the best you could hope for if you're drafting from the 109. You get DeAndre Swift at the 310. Okay, so it looks like NRG Fantasy Focus is starting off running back, running back, running back. I'm assuming that he's just going to be hammering in wide receivers after this. But a big thing is when you draft those 3 running backs, really, if you get one more guy that you're feeling comfortable with the amount of snaps that he's going to play, you can stop after only having to draft 4 RBs, and you could go through and you can attack the receiver position with quantity over quality, which a lot of times in these drafts is actually what I'm going out there and doing. Thomas says the 102 always has the hard bet on the Vikings. It definitely does. And that's why I almost took Jefferson at the 211. Like, I was about to go through my thought process with that and going, okay, well, I think that if we get the correlation in here, we get Dalvin Cook, Justin Jefferson, yada, 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 then that could raise the overall ceiling of the offense and could set us up with Kirk Cousins later on. But I didn't want to do that. I thought that DK Metcalf was a little bit too much of a value, and obviously we still had the chance of a Justin Jefferson falling back to us. So I'm glad that it happened, to be honest, because a lot of times you see the team that takes Dalvin Cook at the 102, they're locking up Justin Jefferson at the 211. Okay, so Bago Rugger here, he goes Diggs, Hopkins, Mike Evans, and Chris Carson at the 402. Okay, so I guess you're very excited when you get Chris Carson as a running back at the 402 when you start receiver, receiver, receiver. Daniel says, never trust a Lions running back. They literally hadn't had 100 yards a game rusher for years. After Barry Sanders, there was a curse. I mean, I'm not a believer in curses. I will say that. I'm not a believer in curses. I'm a believer in DeAndre Swift. That's what I'm a believer in. NRG says Mahomes was tempting. So he says Mahomes was tempting at the 403. I think when you go running back, you really can't take Mahomes. Now, Deezenators, I'm assuming he goes Mahomes here. If he doesn't, the man's a madman. He passes on Mahomes when he took Travis Kelce at the 107. The same thing here with Strover. They pass on Mahomes when they have Hill and Kelce and they have the opportunity to take him there in the 4th. Oh my gosh. That is the craziest thing ever. I'm drafting Mahomes here. Maybe if I took an Ezekiel Elliott instead, then sure. I'm not going to fault you too much for passing on Mahomes when you know you can get like a Josh Allen in the 5th. But if you have Travis Kelce or you have Tyreek Hill, I think you are literally legally obligated to draft Patrick Mahomes in one of these picks. So he ends up going at the 408 to a team that didn't have any of the... Actually, he had Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So, I mean, I would love getting Mahomes here. Even though I didn't draft any of the Kansas City Chiefs, of course, I would have been pressing that button so fast my mouse would have broke if he ended up making it to us at the 411. Okay, so let's switch this back over. So at the 411, we have T. Higgins going off the board. So Higgins most likely would have been a receiver that I would have taken if he has fallen to the late 4th. Y'all know I've been on board of saying T. Higgins is the wide receiver 1 in Cincinnati. Okay, I'm trying to think out loud here. Actually, I can't think out loud because we need to make sure we're not getting sniped with our next picks. We're just going to go Miles Sanders here. I understand the reports are saying Miles Sanders is going to split carries with Boston Scott, but at the end of the day, I think Miles Sanders is the talent that we are wanting to chase, and at the same time, not wanting the pass-catching running back on an offense led by Jalen Hurts regardless. So yeah, we're going to be going with Miles Sanders. Then Adam Thielen and Antonio Brown at the 501. That is by far and away the highest I've seen Antonio Brown drafted. This is a $100 draft. So yeah, I don't love getting running backs this early when you draft Dalvin Cook, because a big thing that Dalvin Cook gives you is the advantage where you're not having to reach on running back. But I think this will give us a spot where we only have to draft 4 in this draft, and then we can go through and we can get some extra receivers. So yeah, we're going to start this Dalvin, Metcalf, Jefferson, Sanders, and Travis Etienne at the 502. Let me know what y'all think of that Antonio Brown pick. My God, I cannot get behind that. I think you could have gotten Antonio Brown at the end of the 6th. To go with Antonio Brown, and trust me, guys, I've been lower on Jamar Chase than I don't know how long now. I've been lower on Jamar Chase than pretty much anybody else. I've been screaming to take T. Higgins over him, and I'm finally happy to see that people are finally starting to realize that's the correct call to go with T. Higgins. But to pass on Chase for Brown, I can't get behind that. Gavin says, Dan Mason, I wanted him to fall. Who did you want to fall? Did you want either Etienne or did you want Miles Sanders? Now, Javonte Williams goes to the 505, and this is what I've been saying, guys. What is so weird is when we get these $100 drafts going, they are more off the wall than when we get the $5 drafts going. Like Javonte Williams, we actually had him going at the end of the 6th round right here. This is also a team that's only going to start with 2 receivers. Now they start with 2 very strong receivers in Avonte Adams, Terry McLaurin. But that is interesting because you have seen Javonte Williams falling. And I'm saying I'll love taking Javonte Williams here at the beginning of the 6th round. I've been doing that consistently. But I just think that possibly you could have just waited a little longer. Okay, so Josh Allen goes to the 508. See, this is what I don't get whatsoever. So why are you taking Henderson here at the 405 just to get Allen around later when you could have had Mahomes and you would have had the stack with a Tyreek Hill? I can't get behind that thought process. I'm going with a Mahomes at the 405. Chase Claypool goes to the 509. I think that Claypool actually has had a very strong start to the preseason. I know he didn't do anything today, but if you look at the amount of snaps that he played, he actually plays almost identical to Deontay Johnson, Juju Smith-Schuster, which is definitely noteworthy because we know, it's almost a fact that you have Chase Claypool most likely going to be a more efficient receiver than both Deontay Johnson and Juju. The question with Claypool is, can he get enough snaps? And if he's in that few series that we had, I know it's a very small sample, but if he's seeing as many snaps as those other wide receivers, I think you do have to be excited about that. Noah says Anthony Miller dislocated shoulder. Didn't Anthony Miller get either cut or traded earlier? I know that he was rumored to, and I was very surprised to see that was actually going through. Let me look up Anthony Miller real quick. Anthony Miller having any type of injury whatsoever is not going to make any impact because he's carted off with a shoulder injury. Okay, RIP Houston Texans. I completely forgot that he was playing for Houston. But that's tough. Okay, Jeff says, watch Mason. I am the downtrodden. Jeff, my man, let me know your explanation for going Antonio Brown here. Let me know. Let me see if you had anything earlier up in the chat. Okay, you say AB is too underrated. He says, I'm the AB lover, bro. My man, do you think what do you think the odds were that you got Antonio Brown at the end of the 6th? Yeah, no. Anthony Miller on the Texans. Maybe Anthony Miller going down does help out Kiki QT. Is QT still on the team? That was a receiver that was able to command a very high he was able to command a very high target rate based on the amount of targets, the amount of routes that he ran earlier in his career. He actually played at Texas Tech with Patrick Mahomes. Okay, I think Kiki QT maybe gets a slight bump up now. I don't think you can be drafting him in fantasy. I'm just imagining that Anthony Miller and Nico Collins are playing 2 completely different roles regardless, so it's not necessarily like you're getting a bump up for Nico Collins. Okay, Gavin, let me know your team name again because I see you in the chat right now saying this is your least favorite draft you've done. Let me know your team name. Okay, so Andrews falls all the way to the 607. I would have been taking Andrews here if he fell. Now, I have actually drafted... I need to keep my mouth shut. There's too much money on the line for me to be just running my mouth right now. We are 3 picks away. Jeff says, laughed my ass off. I knew he would have never come back to me if I had not done it. Okay, if you thought he would have never come back to you, I've said this before. If you're picking at the end, if you're picking at either the 101 or the 102 or the 111, the 112, it's really hard to criticize any of those picks because, I mean, you kind of have to go out there and you have to reach to get one of your guys. Okay, so Odell Beckham Jr. goes off the board there at the 608. That's a lot further than where you usually see him go. A lot further. Myles Gaskin at the 609. Thank God. We were hoping that Myles Gaskin was going to go off the board. Let's see where Daddy Rabbit decides to go here. He has drafted Kyler, Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, CeeDee Lamb, and Darren Waller. So he has a little bit of a Las Vegas Raiders stack going on. So if we're going to be trying to consider to snipe anybody later, maybe he's going to be him with some of those Raiders players. So here I think we just go out of our way. We're just going to get a Laviska Shenault. I know that everybody's in the chat screaming, oh, you had Trevor Lawrence looking really bad today. I'm just in love with Laviska. I am. And then also you have the injury to DJ Chark. I'm going to be getting him here as our wide receiver 3. So you can make fun of me for it. We're getting Laviska Shenault. We're going to be back up on the clock in just 2 picks. You have Mike Williams going here at the 612. Justin Herbert to get that double stack that you have with Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. Very intriguing. Now we are on the clock. I just really don't want to take Sutton. You know what we're going to do here? We're going to take Sermon. And if we take Sermon, I think we're going to be done at running back. No, we're not. We can't do that. We can't do that. We're just going to take a receiver that we know is going to get a ton of snaps. We're going to take Tyler Boyd. He should be playing in a very high volume offense. He should be getting a ton of snaps. In a best ball format like this, he is going to be very valuable. I wanted to get Sermon, but the thing is, I think there are going to be other running backs that I may like the value with in the next 3 rounds. Or wide receivers, I'm going to be a little hesitant to assume that we have anybody that we really like coming back to us, and we need a ton of wide receivers in this format. And if we're taking Sermon, yes, he solidifies our running back 4, and we don't have to draft another one the rest of the way. But I think there are some other running backs that we can accomplish that same goal with just a few rounds later. So we're going to go with a Tyler Boyd there. Okay, so Cortland Sutton goes at the 703. We recently just drafted Sutton. I believe we took him at the 704, but I believe Laviska Shenault and Tyler Boyd were actually both off the board in that draft. Maybe Tyler Boyd wasn't, definitely Laviska Shenault was. I wouldn't have taken Sutton over Shenault. Okay, so Edmonds goes at the 705. Edmonds was a very intriguing pick for me as well, but the problem is we've already drafted so much Chase Edmonds. Y'all know I'm going to be doing like 250 drafts this offseason. So I have to be a little bit aware of my exposures that I have to certain players. Let me show the very top of the draft board for anybody who is just now coming into the stream. And if you are just now coming into the stream, look at me and look at me closely. Go down there, drop that like, subscribe to the channel. Nobody else is live streaming real money fantasy football drafts every single night. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and that way you can make sure you don't miss a live stream. And you could come get in these drafts with us when you sign up for Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code FLOCK at the same time. When you deposit $10, they add $25 to your account. And then you get my 2021 draft guide, my 2021 rankings, and my 2021 tiers. Make sure you're going down there and fulfilling those duties, my dudes. John says, how do I get the draft guide with promo code FLOCK? Literally just go to the description of the video. All you need to do is shoot me a DM on either Twitter, Instagram, Patreon, Discord, literally anywhere you could reach me. Shoot me that DM and then you'll get the draft guide like that. If you shoot me that DM right now, I'm 100% sending them all out right after this live stream. And even if you're watching this as a video a week from now, I'm going through and I'm continuously checking all those platforms once every hour pretty much. And I'm sending those out very quickly. Ask anybody in the live chat right now. Like literally guys, let's go through and okay. Tommy says you have Sanders in 95% of your teams. What do you mean exposure? I know I'm Miles Sanders everywhere, but anyway, in the chat guys, if you have gotten the draft guide, just so everybody knows that literally all you have to do is deposit $10 on Underdog Fantasy. If you have gotten the draft guide, literally just spam, I have gotten the draft guide. That way people can see that you get the draft guide when you use $10 on Underdog Fantasy, because I know the deal seems too good to be true, but literally there are 450 people in the live stream right now. You know, a ton of them have gone out there. They've gotten that draft guide. So it's not like I could be sitting here and lying about it. So let's see everybody out there. Let me turn off my camera so I can pull up my 20 other different computers and go through and type from a different a bunch of different Gmail accounts. Sorry, I'm stuttering. I'm just typing from so many different Gmail accounts right now. Okay, so Rogers at the 803. Vinny says, Flock, what do you think to get rid of A.J. Dillon for a future second, a future first, and Gainwell's a rebuilding team? Oh, if you can get a future first and a future second for A.J. Dillon, go sell A.J. Dillon. And you know I'm a massive fan of Dillon. Okay, yeah, you see everybody in the chat right now spamming that they got the draft guide. Thank you, my dudes. Sheldon says, do you verify we deposit $10 in Underdog? Yes, that's why when you DM me, you have to send me the email that you signed up for Underdog Fantasy with. That way I can go through and I can confirm. You have to send me that email. If you DM me and you don't send me the email, the next response you're going to get is just send me your email. That's all I need. You can literally just send me a picture of you robbing me and say, I use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy, and then send me your email. That way I can confirm and I'll go through and send that to you ASAP. Let's get this back up. So we have a team where we do not have a single quarterback or a tight end yet. We have drafted Dalvin, Miles Sanders, Travis Etienne, and at receiver, we have DK Metcalf, Justin Jefferson, Laviska Shenault, and Tyler Boyd. Okay, so the teams before us have interesting builds where it looks like they're a little running back heavy, so maybe we're in a spot where we have to consider drafting Raheem Mostert here. Y'all know one player I'm not considering drafting. I'll say that. He's on my do not draft list no matter what happens. And there are a couple other interesting wide receivers. There are a couple interesting tight ends. Tight ends could be in play here considering the fact that we have not drafted a single one. Trill says, why not Russ over Tyler Boyd? Because with this being a best ball format, I really want to make sure that we are solidified at the receiver position. Because if you're not solid at the receiver position in a format like this where you have to start 3 receivers, it's going to be very hard for you to catch up anywhere else, to be honest. Okay. Daddy Rabbit goes Russell Gage. So we're going to go with a Raheem Mostert here. I actually really like this pick considering when we passed on a Trey Sermon earlier, of course, I way prefer Trey Sermon in fantasy over Mostert. But I think this is actually going to line up with the roster a little bit more considering the fact that we're going to be pairing him with Travis Etienne, where we're expecting Travis Etienne to have production later on in the season, and we're expecting Mostert to be someone that's productive right away. So the overlap in production isn't necessarily there, and I think we can have those running backs that we like all season. So yeah, we're going to go there, and we're going to be done drafting running backs. Leonard Fournette goes to the 901. Of course, we love seeing that when we're done with RB. So now at receiver, I think, do we just take a Jarvis Landry and we just start stackpiling a bunch of these guys that are going to get a lot of targets? So it would be intriguing reaching on a tight end here, but a Dallas Goedert, I mean, with Zach Ertz getting that run in the preseason, I'm a little hesitant. We're going to build around the receiver position. We're going to go Jarvis Landry. So yes, this is a little nerve-wracking. I'm not nervous about punting quarterback whatsoever, but punting tight end at this point, we do have to be a little scared about it. And if we go through, we look at this draft so far, we took Dalvin, DK Metcalf, Justin Jefferson, Miles Sanders, Travis Etienne, Laviska Shenault, Tyler Boyd, and Raheem Mostert. Okay, so Noah says, what player would you say has the same value as a first-round pick in a dynasty league? My man, that is way too complicated of a question. Even if you asked me that on Patreon, I'd be like, man, you have to narrow that question down. I'm not going to be sitting here 20 and just explaining that over and over and over again. Okay, so Marvin Jones does indeed go at the 903. So let's see where Chark went in this draft. DJ Chark goes at the 710. Okay, so you do have Marvin Jones going about a round and a half after DJ Chark, which is intriguing. Let me know what value y'all prefer. Let me know if you prefer a DJ Chark at the 710 or if you prefer a Marvin Jones at the 903. I definitely want to say that Chark has access to a much higher ceiling, and I was very prepared to be way overweight on DJ Chark, but the problem is the injury. I think obviously you have to take that into consideration. Okay, so now we have Waddle at the 905, Marvin Jones at the 903. Okay, so I see a lot of people asking about James Robinson in the chat. Guys, if they wanted to use James Robinson as the starting running back there for the entire season, they would not have drafted Travis Etienne in the first round. They're not drafting Travis Etienne in the first round so he can sit there and look pretty on the bench. I'm telling you that. Okay, so Jalen Waddle at the 905, Hollywood Brown at the 906, Parker, Corey Davis, So I'm kind of happy that we see these receivers going off the board once we pass on the tight end position. We're still not going to have access to the tier of a Dallas Goedert, a Tyler Higbee. All those guys are going to be gone by the time we get back up here at the end of the 10th. But what this tells us is if we see this continued run on wide receivers, maybe we end up actually having some more tight ends fall later in the draft, because maybe this is more so a wide receiver hungry room, which at this point, when we have 5 receivers through 9 rounds, of course we want. Jane coming out says, let's effing go. Shane Buechele just led his squad down the field for the lead. 4 for 6. It says 4 for 6 blank yards. Can't see what the yards are. 2 rushes for 2 yards and a touchdown. My day is complete. Jane, this has been a fantastic day for you. And this has also been a good day for Texas recruiting, because Texas can go out there. They can put a ton of social media clips. They can go, oh, congrats Malcolm Brown. Congrats Caden Stearns. Now, congrats Shane Buechele. That is a big day for Texas football. Okay, Tyler Higbee at the 10:02. Like I said, we're not getting any of these tight ends falling back to us, but we are kind of hoping that maybe this room devalues the tight end position just slightly. Now, also, we have yet to draft a quarterback as well. Now, we are going to be on the clock in 7 picks, and usually I don't pull it up until we're about 1 or 2 picks away, but considering this is a $100 draft, the stakes are a little higher, and I want to make sure that we're thinking through our picks more than we usually do. Now, the real question is, at what point would we have to consider drafting Michael Thomas? At the 10-11, would we have to pull the trigger? Thank God he goes to the 10-04, so we don't even have to consider it. Fantasy Flock is the best, says, do you remember me? Yes, of course. I remember you, my man. You probably created that account, I want to say, in about week 6 of last year. Let me know if I'm wrong, but I think that you probably created that account in week 6. I know that you most likely were watching the videos way before then, and then you ended up making the Fantasy Flock as the best account. Terry says, what do I get when I deposit money on Underdog? I know that you are trolling me because I say it so often, so I'll just be happy to go through and say it again, though. So thank you for the opportunity. When you deposit $10 on Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK, you get $25 added to your account. You get the satisfaction of knowing that you're doing something that supports this channel more than anything else. At the same time, you get my 2021 draft guide, my 2021 Dynasty Rookie Draft Guide, hundreds of pages of information, my rankings and tiers as well. So yeah, definitely if you have not done that already, make sure you do it. If we hit 10,000 Flock signups, then we're doing a 24-hour live stream, flying people to Tampa, Florida to go to a Bucs game with me, and doing a Florida meetup at the same time. Okay, so now we are going quarterback with this next pick. I don't care what happens, just because we need a QB here. We don't have a single one, and I think it is a fantastic value spot to go and get one. And now Trey Lance goes, if we go through this team right now, I know we don't necessarily have any clear stacking options. We're just going to get a Jalen Hurts. Yeah, we're going to go with a Jalen Hurts, and then we're going to be fine with 1 of 2 guys on the way back. Actually, let me think about this a little more. Now, we're going to go with the Jalen Hurts. We're just going to get Hurts. As someone with an elite rushing ceiling, you honestly don't even need a stack, but we do have Miles Sanders. So maybe we're just making a bet on the overall offense. We're going to get Jalen Hurts here at the 10-11, and we're going to double up on quarterback. I'm fine with whatever the downtrodden decides to do. He can go with the 3rd if he wants. I don't necessarily advise it. But yeah, we're going to be getting a second quarterback here, and we're going to be done at the QB position. So from here, we're only going to be drafting 3 tight ends, and then we're going to get 9 receivers on this roster. So if we're looking at this, the thing is, with a Trevor Lawrence, yes, he would fit the roster in stacking both a Travis Etienne and a Laviska Shenault, but I don't necessarily think that we would be doing so at a value. So instead, I think we actually just go out there and we have Matthew Stafford and Joe Burrow in the same exact tier. So when we have a Tyler Boyd, we can use the tiebreaker to go with the Joe Burrow. So I know we have more stacking options with the Trevor Lawrence, but at that point, we're actually going out there and we're reaching on the quarterback, where I think we're taking Joe Burrow at a value here. Like his ADP is 116. We took him at 122. So we're fine with that. And we're getting a small stack in. While obviously it's not that ideal, we're still accomplishing something. And we only have to draft 2 QBs when we do this. My God. Okay. Please, 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 please. I'm going to be completely transparent. I did not check the bye weeks. Please. Thank God. Thank God. Oh, that scared me. That scared me real bad. Okay, I see Swizzworld wanted us to go with Trevor Lawrence. No, my man, I can't go Lawrence there. I mean, I understand the thought process, and the problem is also, I mean, Lawrence is just going around after Joe Burrow and ADP. So if I'm going to create some Jacksonville Jaguars stacks, I can do it in a different range of the draft with more upside. So I think here, this is going to be a Burrow draft. Let me go through. Let me show you all the top of the draft board as well, just for anybody who's just now coming into the live stream. And if you are just now coming into the stream, make sure you're going down there and dropping a like. And also let me know in the live chat, guys, what the number one thing that you actually took away from the first week of preseason games was. And if you have yet to subscribe to the channel, make sure you go down there and hit that subscribe button. It helps us out so much. Scott says, is the next draft 100 or a 50? This draft right here is a $100 draft. We'll figure out what we're doing with the next draft, to be honest. This one's going to end after midnight, so it's probably going to just depend on how many people we have in here and how many likes we have on the stream if we continue to draft or not, just because, I mean, we have been going through and doing wrong button. We've been doing so many drafts as of late. And also, I want to be getting y'all extra videos out tomorrow. I probably want to be getting 2 videos out tomorrow at the same time. So yeah, I don't necessarily know what we'll be doing after this. It's just mainly going to depend on how many people are in the live stream, which depends on how many likes we get. Uriel says, hot take, Rondell Moore is better than LaVisca with the exact same role in a more productive offense. My man, I hope you were wrong. I hope you were wrong. I'll say that's all I'm going to say. Okay, so Fields goes at the 11:05. Justin Fields is also probably going to be a QB I don't draft at all here. I mean, if he's going at the 11:05, if he's going in the same round of Matthew Stafford to Joe Burrow, I can't do it. I mean, Matt Ryan at the 11:10 also does seem a little rich, but I guess when these teams here only have one quarterback, I mean, I prefer easily, honestly, Trevor Lawrence over Matt Ryan and Justin Fields. I think Hoop State drafted Allen Robinson earlier. Let me go through and check. So Hoop State, who took Fields here, yeah, you got Allen Robinson at the 309. I'm not sure if that's one of those instances where you're more so just reaching on the stack and not necessarily getting the same type of upside that you would have if you just took best player available. Let me know what y'all think of that. If y'all took if y'all took Allen Robinson in the 3rd round and you're in the spot where you're going to go with the quarterback in the 11th, would you prefer going with either Justin Fields or Trevor Lawrence? I'm not necessarily that excited. Daniel says, what's the highest projected score you've gotten so far? Daniel, my man, I have to be completely honest with something. I realized that what Underdog does for the projected scores, they literally just go through and they just add up the projected score for all the players that you drafted. Like, I don't even think they take into account how many players fit into a starting lineup in the bye weeks and everything. So I went from last week, really, I don't want to say caring a lot about the projected score, but we were definitely looking at it, to at this point, I'm not looking at it at all, and not even for a second, to be honest. Okay, so Baker Mayfield at the 12:02. Terrace Marshall at the 12:04. Aaron says, I'm surprised with not taking Stafford there. Don't you feel he has a much higher floor? I feel like you have preached having a combo of high floor and high ceiling players. Yes, sir, and I'm going to be taking Matthew Stafford in a lot of other drafts. But a big thing is, if I'm doing 250 leagues and Matthew Stafford and Joe Burrow are right next to each other in ADP, wouldn't it make sense for me to take Joe Burrow in a league where I drafted a Cincinnati Bengal and to take Matthew Stafford in a league where I draft a Ram? And if I don't have either, then just break the tiebreaker and go with the quarterback that I prefer in Matthew Stafford. At least that's how I'm going to be approaching the game. And I know that not all of y'all are going to be drafting in 250 real money leagues this year. So it's not necessarily, apples to apples. But at the same time, I think we have to at least consider the fact that I'm kind of building a portfolio of players here. I'm not just creating one team. Okay, so now that we are on the clock, literally there are only 2 positions we can look at. We are done at quarterback. And you know what I just realized? We made a mistake here. When we draft Dalvin and Justin Jefferson, I think it's almost a priority to get Kirk Cousins later in the draft. So I think the Burrow pick may have been bad. Let's make my 2 selections. Then we'll go and we'll revisit our decision to go QB at the last turn. I think maybe a Michael Pittman would have been a better option over a Joe Burrow. But we'll go through and we'll revisit that in a second. Okay, so now that we are only looking at receivers and tight ends. I know tight ends are supposedly a reach here. But I think we get Jonnu Smith. This should be someone that continues to rise in ADP. We only have 1 tight end we have 0 tight ends on this roster right now. So Jonnu's going to be our first guy. Yeah, so we're just going to go with a Jonnu Smith. We're going to go with the Jonnu Smith. And after we make this next selection, I want to zoom out and I want to look back at the draft board and I want to see what we could have done differently to make sure that we got Kirk Cousins at the 1302 and see if we would have had a player that we would have preferred in the round that we took Joe Burrow. So yeah, let's go through. Let's make this next pick and see if we made a mistake. Okay, so AJ Green going at the 12-12. Rob Gronkowski going. So the thing is, I think we just kind of have to take an Evan Ingram here. Now, I am a big fan of Ingram. Rashad Bateman would be clearly the pick if it wasn't for the groin injury. I know I'm pandering right now, and I know I'm just going through and trying to think about this out loud. We're going to take an Evan Ingram. I think the receivers that we're going to have in the following rounds aren't going to be too different from the tight ends. So yeah, we're going to go with Ingram, and then we're going to go back. We're going to zoom out on this draft board. And like I said, this is a $100 league. So if I make a mistake in this, which clearly I think we did, I think we really need to kind of hang our head low and try to figure out what we can do better next time. So if we would have, instead of taking a Joe Burrow here, I think that we honestly kind of had to go with a Jalen Hurts there in the 10th. But if instead of going with the Joe Burrow, instead maybe we decided to go with a Rondale Moore, then here in the 13th round, we could have gone with a Kirk Cousins. Now, it's hard to look at that because it's not a one-for-one replacement. Like, we're switching Joe Burrow and Evan Ingram for Kirk Cousins and Rondale Moore in a league where we drafted both Dalvin Cook and Justin Jefferson. So I don't necessarily know. I don't know what's the right call there. So if y'all have an opinion on that, I would really like to hear it. Steve says, take Cousins anyway, ? I'm completely fine going through and taking 3 quarterbacks, but you can't take 3 quarterbacks in a league where you go with a 10th and 11th round selection. At least in my mind, if I'm investing into 2 quarterbacks in this tier right here, I'm only drafting 2. I'm not drafting 3. I'll draft 3 if I miss out and my number 1 quarterback is going to be someone like a Matt Ryan or a Justin Fields. And what my number 1 quarterback is after Matthew Stafford, I'm going to go 3. But if I can get 2 guys in this range, we're just going 2. Thomas says, Hurts was the mistake. Brown was the value. Hurts with Sanders is just bad news. One will fail. I don't necessarily know if I agree with that entirely. I understand the thought process, though. Falony says, Mason, Saturday Night Madness, one more draft. We'll see. We'll see, my dudes. We'll see. Hey, can we get 300 likes in this live stream at least? How many people are going through and live streaming every single night? You know, how many? That's how many. Drop a like, guys, if y'all are enjoying these streams. And if y'all want these streams to happen next year, this partnership with Underdog Fantasy has to go well. So make sure you're using promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy. Okay, Jeff says, roast my team, Mason, the downtrude. And yes, sir, I'll be happy to go through and look at it. Okay, so this is going to be the 101 team. So, of course, it's going to be very hard to roast the team that was drafted at the 101. But if we do go through, CMC, Keenan Allen, George Kittle, about the best start that you can have through 3 rounds. Now, I see that you did set up a common stack that we have found from the 101 and the 102 team, which is getting the Justin Herbert stack in there with Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. Was that in your thought process when you decided to take a Keenan Allen here with the 2nd round? Or was it more so, I prefer Keenan over Jefferson, so we're going to go Keenan Allen, and then later on, you just kind of fell in to where you decided to go that route? Or was that more so pre-planned? And then you have Thielen. Antonio Brown is just, I understand it from a construction standpoint, wanting to go with the receiver there. I just think reaching on a receiver in Antonio Brown when you could have potentially, I mean, maybe if you know that you're going to go with a Mike Williams and a Justin Herbert, you go, okay, well, we're not going to have access to Antonio Brown in the 8th round. So if you have that predestined or predetermined, I think that possibly it's fine. But there are there are multiple receivers in this range I prefer over AB. I mean, there are a lot of guys that I prefer over AB. Then getting Herbert at the 701. I'll say that I think, honestly, my least favorite pick out of this group was probably going to be Tom Brady at the 812. Okay, we were actually on the clock real quick, so I need to go through and I need to pull this up. We probably shouldn't have been looking at that long. Okay, but now we're going to take a Rashad Bateman. Yes, he's injured, but at the same time, we're getting him at the end of the 14th round. Recovery to last 6 to 8 weeks. Okay, oh my God. Can we do that? Let's do some quick math in our head. We're going to draft him. Probably a very bad call, but we're going to get a Rashad Bateman there. Let me know how bad that was, my dudes. We're getting him at pick 167. We're getting him as our wide receiver 6. Okay, so Randall Cobb, Byron Pringle go. Okay, so now are we just locked into, I think we're going Anthony Firkser, to be honest. And we're ending our tight end position because we're going to get 9 receivers on this roster. Yeah, so we're going to go Anthony Firkser here. One day I'll properly learn how to pronounce that name, but that day is not today. And I want to go back, and I know this is just something I want to focus in on. So Tom Brady at the 8-12, I know you're getting him with the Antonio Brown, but still, I think that's just such a reach where you're going through, and instead of getting a Tom Brady at the 8-12, you would have had access to with either a Joe Burrow or a Matthew Stafford here. And I think that we definitely prefer going through and getting one of the quarterbacks here. So I would have passed on Brady. I would have either gone your favorite receiver or your favorite running back. Yeah, I really don't like the Brady pick. I think that's the only one that really stands out to me is the Antonio Brown, Tom Brady stack that you had. I don't know if you're a Tampa Bay fan. I'll say I'm currently living in Tampa, and I still think that is a crazy selection to go. And you do get Gronk at the 1301. See, I'll say that I think just the overall reach on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers stack is going to be the problem that I have with the draft. Okay, so let me know what y'all are thinking about the pick there that we had with Rashad Bateman. Okay, so it looks like Ted says, not a fan of Fournette, it's ... no Bateman. I don't know if that means you think that Bateman was a very bad pick there. Honestly, he could have been. If you're talking about a math perspective, if we're playing in Best Ball Mania where they have the tournament setting at the end, I think Bateman's a great pick there. But if we're playing in a league where you just need points in week 1, week 2, week 3. Okay, so Masked Enigma says Randall Cobb over Rashad Bateman. You're probably right, my man, to be honest. You're most likely right. We probably should have gone with the Randall Cobb. Okay, let me scroll this down. Sorry, my dudes. Hunter Henry at the 1509. So I actually really do like how this team turned out because we're going to be able to roster a considerable amount of receivers. I mean, we only have 2 quarterbacks. We have 4 running backs, and we have 3 tight ends. So we're going to get 9 receivers on this team. And it's not like we punted receiver at the beginning. We went with a Justin Jefferson, and we went with a DK Metcalf. So this is going to be a fantastic team. Okay, so Dimey Brown. KJ Hamler goes up at the 15-12. Someone that we were taking way earlier in drafts when we were taking him in the 18th round before the blow-up preseason game. Love seeing KJ Hamler go in the 15th. Okay, if Austin Hooper falls to us here, I'm going to hate this pick that we took with Anthony Firkser. I'm going to hate it so much. Actually, Hooper already went, thank God. That's what I was assuming. I was assuming there was a 0% chance we were going to have Hooper. I assumed that we were going to have to go and try to get someone like a Zach Ertz. And at that point, I'd rather just be drafting receivers in that range. So I actually really do like that pick that we made. Masked Enigma says, rip Hamler as our last round pick. Yes. RIP KJ Hamler. I'm not going to lie. Like, I was like dancing around in the video that we made that comes out tomorrow morning talking about the preseason winners about KJ Hamler. But when I saw it, my initial reaction, I don't want to say was sadness, but it was not a good one. Where I saw KJ Hamler, I saw that big touchdown. I went, well, it looks like I'm not getting any more of my guy because I'm not going to be able to bring myself now to draft him in the 14th round if that's where his ADP ends up. So I love Hamler, but I hate the fact that we may end up having to pay a higher price for him. Okay, so now J Stack takes it all the way down to the buzzer. Goes John Brown. Now we're just drafting receivers from here on out because we have 2 quarterbacks, 4 running backs, 3 tight ends. We invested enough into the respective positions. Now that Anthony Miller's done as well, do we just go with the Nico Collins and saying someone has to catch balls in Houston? We're going to go with the Nico Collins. This is someone that actually outproduced a Donovan Peoples-Jones in Michigan, at Michigan, however you say it. So yeah, we're going to go with Nico Collins. This is definitely a dead zone for receiver. Deshaun Jackson, I know the thought process and why he's going so high in drafts. I just don't know if I can actually go out there and draft him. So Jalen Guyton goes there. That does build on to the stack that he had with the Los Angeles Chargers, where he took Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and Justin Herbert. Okay, so with this next receiver selection, I think we're most likely either going to be going with a Dwayne Eskridge, or actually, I'm not going to say the next guy because maybe he comes back to us. So here, this receiver room, we have Metcalf, Jefferson, Chenault, Tyler Boyd, Jarvis Landry, Rashad Bateman, Nico Collins. So we honestly, instead of a Dwayne Eskridge, we need someone that's going to produce right away. Given the fact that we do have Rashad Bateman, who's going to be injured, we also have another rookie in a Nico Collins. I'm not doing it. I was going to consider taking Deshaun Jackson, but I honestly would prefer just getting a Darius Slayton with this build. As gross as it is, Darius Slayton could potentially see a spike week as well. And at the same time, he has less target competition if you assume that Kenny Golladay is going to continue to be injured. And on top of that, he's younger and he's going to have, I want to say, a lower probability of getting hurt himself. So yeah, we are going to end up going down there and getting Darius Slayton. Okay, so Jerick McKinnon, Van Jefferson go directly after. Jayan says, imagine taking any of these guys over Devin Duvernay. My man, Devin Duvernay is literally not getting drafted in any draft right now. Like, I think if you're playing in the Best Ball Mania and you're looking for some last round shots in the 18th round that are going to have a very low ownership percentage by the time you get to the playoff tournament, I think Devin Duvernay is one of those very interesting guys. In a format like this, though, I don't necessarily think that we want to prioritize getting Duvernay. Okay, guys, how about this? I think this is a very easy ask. I see a lot of people wanting another stream, but it's past midnight for where I'm at right now. So the majority of our live streams through 2 drafts will be closing in on 400 likes. I'm not going to ask for 400 likes in this live stream. If we get 375 likes in this live stream, we'll do another draft. 375. But beyond that, I am going to be recording multiple videos that should come out tomorrow about the preseason. So of course, make sure that you're subscribed to the channel regardless. And I'll be very happy to see you in the premieres to those videos. Because to be honest, unless a miracle happens, I don't think we're hitting 375 likes in this live stream. NRG Fantasy Focus says, please rate my team, Mason. I'm at the 110. Yes, sir. So let's go through. He finishes off the draft at receiver. Let's go through and let's check this out. Okay, so Jones, Taylor Swift, Mike Davis. So getting 4 running backs, not necessarily looking at the RB position again. So then going through and at wide receiver, Cooper Kupp, DJ Chark, Henry Ruggs, Cole Beasley, Gabriel Davis, T.Y. Hilton, Brashad Perriman, Alan Lazard, Olamide Zaccheaus, Kadarius Toney. I'll say a lot of I'm not going to lie. If you shoot me a DM on Twitter, I'll send you a screenshot. And a lot of my Best Ball Mania teams look exactly like this, where you go extremely fragile and you just kind of bet on having those random spike weeks at receiver. I will say that I think in the Best Ball Mania, maybe that's a better strategy than it is here. Because I think if you're making the adjustment here, you don't necessarily have to have the same type of access to that elite level ceiling. And at the same time, you're going to have to pay a little bit more for those running backs that you're getting in the middle rounds. So I'm not 100% sure that it's a great strategy here where it would be in the Best Ball Mania. Like literally, but my teams look exactly like that whenever you're playing in the format where you need to make sure that in the playoffs, you're just completely different than anybody else. So you do have a shot at winning the $1 million. Yeah, there I think that is going to be a nice build. But here, I just think we prefer having a higher floor. Cam says, does anyone have an idea of when the Puppy 3 is coming out on Underdog? My man, I got an email from the Underdog people earlier today. Before I end the live stream, actually, I'm not going to go search for the email. It's going to take too long. I believe they were saying it's going to come out in like less than a week. I could be completely wrong. That's off the top of my head. So I shouldn't even say anything. Let me retract that statement, actually. It will come out when it comes out. I mean, it's surprising to see how fast the Puppy and the Puppy 2 just flew. Okay, yeah, we're going to get another receiver here, and this may be the first time that we ever do it, but we may take Deshaun Jackson. If we're getting Jackson at the 18-11, it's going to be a completely different price. This will be the first time that we ever do it, maybe the only time we'll ever do it because it's the second to last pick in this draft, but I think we go with a Deshaun Jackson here. And if anybody wants to see the entire draft board, let me go through, let me pull it up. And also, it looks like we did not hit 375 likes in this live stream, but I am sorry, guys. This is going to be the last the last draft of the night, unless we hit 375 real quick. But while we wait to see if we do hit that, I will go down there and I'll grab a link for our free fantasy football group chat for anybody who wants to go out there and join our free group chat. And guys, this is something you don't need an email. You don't need a credit card. You don't need anything for. You literally click the link, type out your nickname, whatever you want to be called in the group chat. Then you're in, and you're in with like 4,000 people talking about fantasy football every single day. I'm going to spam that in the chat. And of course, use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy. Nothing helps this channel more. You get paid $25 added onto your account for a $10 deposit. You get my 2021 draft guide. You get my 2021 rankings. And you do something that helps this channel tremendously. So please use code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy. Okay. I'm going through and I am spamming this out. And yeah, that's all I got for you, my dudes. I really hope y'all enjoyed the live.